All right, Steeler fans, it is that time of the week again, the second half of the Let's Ride podcast on Friday. It's time for the All Betz Are Off segment with Jeremy Jerome Betz. What's up, Jeremy? How's it going?
It's going great, Jeff. Hard to believe we're a week away from training camp already, and things are starting to pick up the pace around here.
Shoot, technically less than a week, and they
Yeah.
report on Wednesday, and the first practice is Thursday. And by the time we meet next week, they'll have a practice under their belt. That's insane to me, but
Yeah.
I'm ready. I am ready for it. I've had a good summer. I'm still going to have a good summer, but I'm excited to be able to talk about some tangible things, and that is something that we're also getting to know now with things like the trade. The things everyone thinks that Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith and the pick swap for Minkah Fitzpatrick, all that stuff that took place. They always think, "Oh, that's done." No, we're just finding out the contract details of this deal. Somehow, some way, the Steelers end up, and I'll get the details here, but they save money on the salary cap and get two players in Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey. Now that you saw the finances, what do you think?
I mean, I already thought that the Steelers made out like bandits on the trade after, you know, after we discussed it and after kind of looking through all the different points about how the defense can use Jalen Ramsey and the impact that Jonnu Smith will have on the offense. I think the Steelers won the trade, but now I just think they blew expectations out of the water even for what we knew. So to add two players that are going to help you in significant ways this year and maybe even beyond this year, while offloading a big contract for a player that, I mean, from what we've seen on the field, it was a player who was declining. You're able to better your team and also give yourself a little bit more leeway on the cap this year. And I didn't dive too deep into the future years cap hits. Jeff, maybe you know a little bit more than I do on that, but I do think that with Minkah Fitzpatrick being owed, I think it was $22 million in cap space this year, or he was going to take up that much cap space. Between Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, it's less than $10 million, I believe, that they're going to take up on the cap this year. So very, very much a big win. And Omar Khan continues to impress me when it comes to the behind-the-scenes stuff, the under-the-surface, more analytical or numbers-oriented stuff for the trades that he's pulling off.
And to really hammer this point home, a lot of fans out there are really concerned about a potential TJ Watt contract and what the numbers are going to look like. And I've said it all along. If there's one person in the National Football League that I would trust to get the numbers right, it's Omar Khan. He has proven it time and time again that he'll make the deal, but he's also going to make the deal, create the deal, move things around so it's going to be easier for the Steelers to manipulate everything that they have to stay under the cap, to give them enough cap room to pay off for injuries and the rookies and all that stuff that has to take place. They still need to create some cap space. I still think that with TJ Watt getting an extension, which I still do believe is going to happen, it'll take his cap hit and really shrink it in 2025. That'll give them some cap room that they need. And then next year, we know they already have a lot of cap space. Now, they're going to have to sign players, so that's going to go quickly. But still, I trust Omar Khan to get it right. He has proven it. I mean, I can't think of a time where he got it wrong. Can you?
No, I mean, not to this point. Obviously, we have yet to learn, and we're talking numbers here, but we have yet to learn about how some of these big swings in the draft are going to work out, the Broderick Joneses of the world and whatnot. But as far as contracts go, as far as return on investment for players that you're moving on from, Chase Claypool comes to mind, obviously now Minkah Fitzpatrick. I mean, it's genius type work. He is an artist when it comes to this cap management stuff and has been for a while. And Jeff, I don't know about you. When the move was originally made to go from Kevin Colbert to Omar Khan, a lot of people were like, how's this going to work? Because he's the numbers guy, but we don't know how it's going to work on the player side. I think having Andy Weidel come in and kind of working through him on the personnel side has allowed this to work in a way that made sense now, or makes sense in hindsight. You can't lose a guy like Omar Khan when you're a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who is a little bit more wary of how much cash they're spending on a given basis. They don't hand out a bunch of guarantees. You need a guy who can work some magic, and he does that So keeping him around is an A-plus move by the organization, and he's continuing to do an A-plus job, in my opinion.
And when I talked about the times that he got it wrong, I was referring to just contractual situations.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
when you think around the NFL, the perfect example, the prime example, the gold standard for effing up contracts is the Cleveland Browns. They continually give out deals that after 2-3 years, hell, sometimes it's when they ink is not even dried and it becomes public that everyone says, that's a bad deal. Like, that is not a good contract. He hasn't had one of those. And even the Deontay Johnson, you might say in hindsight, man, they shouldn't have never extended him. But they did. But it wasn't like it crushed him. It wasn't as if it wasn't built into the system that if they released him, they ended up trading him to Carolina so they get out of that last year of his deal. I didn't bemoan that contract. Not at all. Some people last year thought that Pat Freiermuth got too much. I didn't look at it that way either. When you look at what tight ends were getting around the league, Pat Freiermuth's contract was relatively average. I thought it was fair for his production and for what he has. He wasn't asking for top dollar. They didn't give him top dollar. I think Omar Khan, he's done it for so long. People don't realize he's done it for over 20 years. Yeah. Going all the way back to the beginning of the Kevin Colbert era, he was the one that was tasked with doing contracts, making sure they're cap compliant. The guy knows what he's doing. Now, we'll know a lot more about him and his front office with the selections that were made. Right. But still, so far, so good in my opinion.
Yeah. Last note on the contracts for me is I would encourage Steeler fans, if you're just looking at the raw numbers on these deals, you're looking at the deals wrong. Go look at like cap percentage when these deals are signed. And you know, you look at like a DK Metcalf deal and everybody's like, oh man, he's getting top 4, top 5 wide receiver money now. Actually go look at the cap percentage when he was signed compared to when some of these other guys were signed, and he's down closer to 10. Like you're paying him like a top 10 receiver when it comes to cap percentage, and the cap's going to keep going up. That's why I'm not concerned about a TJ Watt extension when it comes to giving a 31-year-old or whatever $40 million. Some people are concerned about that. Doesn't matter to me. In 4 years or 3 years, when that extension is coming to a close, it's not going to look like that much money. It's just not.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. And $40 million is a big number. But again, when you look at it in terms of percentages, it's different. But speaking of TJ Watt, this is something that you actually sent to me and said, Jeff, I'm going to write an article when this is live. I'm not sure if it'll be published yet or not because I haven't seen it yet. But you wanted to talk a little bit about legacy. And so I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead and you get the opportunity to talk to the Ride or Die crew.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're all terminally online, right? With the Steelers content and the NFL content and everything like that. And we, on social media, just diving into, you know, all the analysis from fans who are just there to fan and root for a team or a player to people who dive into it for their living, for their job. And you get varying opinions on everything. But one thing that keeps popping up that I take issue with when it comes to talking about player legacies, and I think that it's a bigger issue in Steelers Nation than maybe even for some other teams, but I keep seeing, well, what has he won? What have they done in the playoffs during so-and-so's time in Pittsburgh? And TJ Watt specifically comes up, and it wasn't an argument, but I was conversing with somebody on X about it, and their basic opinion was that part of TJ Watt's legacy is the fact that the Steelers haven't won anything during his tenure with the team. And I could not disagree more with that. I think that is two separate legacies that we're talking about when you're talking about what a team is accomplishing and what a player is accomplishing. And so some of the examples I come up with are guys like Joe Thomas from the Cleveland Browns. One of the best all-time left tackles, never even sniffed the playoffs. And that doesn't tarnish his legacy. He's a Hall of Fame player. He might be the best tackle of his generation. And I think that when you look at TJ Watt and you look at his numbers and you look at the pace he's on and the amount of sacks and the production he has based on the time frame that he has played, this is an all-time great that we're watching, and there is no need to tarnish that legacy by adding the caveat, well, what has the team accomplished? during his time frame. So I think and as Steeler fans, I think we kind of push more towards that secondary part because a lot of our greats were a part of championship teams. So we associate greatness with championship rosters. That hasn't been the case the last 7 or 8 years, or longer than that, honestly. No championships longer than that. But in the last 7 or 8 years, the playoff drought, whatever, that is playing into it more. But TJ Watt, man, enjoy the greatness because it doesn't come along this much, and it shouldn't tarnish his individual legacy as a player that the Steelers as a team in the ultimate team sport have not accomplished more as an organization.
So I agree with you, and I want to add a little something to it. And I think that TJ Watt's own individual legacy will be boosted and buoyed by his individual accomplishments. So it'll be his defensive player of the year, or maybe plural by the time he's done playing. It'll be his Pro Bowl nods. It'll be his all-pro selections, all that stuff. You can't take that away. And even when he's inducted probably into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that is the ultimate individual legacy honor. Yep. And there's a reason why once guys get into the Hall of Fame, when they sign an autograph, if you've ever seen one, even if you buy it online, it typically will say HOF in the year they were inducted. That's what means the most. But I will say, though, there is something to team legacy. When you talk about the greats in Pittsburgh Steelers history, you cannot say there's not a differentiation between those teams in the 70s that won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years and some truly great players who had all the accolades yet never won it. And so you talk about the Mike Webster of the 1970s. Do we view Darmonte Dawson the same way? Darmonte Dawson is a Hall of Fame player. Right. Darmonte Dawson was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But we don't view him like Mike Webster. Marquise Pouncey was the man for that offensive line for a long time.
Yep.
Do we view him like Mike Webster? We don't. And so there is a differentiation between greatness and then getting your team to the next level. And unfortunately, like you said, it is the ultimate team game. And TJ Watt is only one piece of that overall puzzle. He's only one piece of the overall cog of the defense, if you want to be more specific. And so it's difficult. His individual legacy should not be tarnished by team success, but you can say that team success does weigh into how fans view him amongst those that did reach the top of the mountain. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, I guess what the difference to me is we're talking about memorability. If that's a word, I don't even know if that's a word, actually.
I'm not going to argue, man. You were right last time. So,
yeah, how much we remember them based on, the heights that the team rose to as fans. I totally get that. And I could sit back and like, if you're talking about quarterbacks, there's a little bit more of that. What did you accomplish as a quarterback as far as winning? Because that's the most important position on the field.
Right.
It's the one that determines wins and losses more, or has a heavier impact on that type of finish. But I just think maybe we should view Darmonte Dawson and Marquise Pouncey in the same light that we view Mike Webster. And just because the championships didn't come during their tenure doesn't mean that they were any less of a great player. And when you're talking about TJ Watt, kind of the conversation that got it going is there's a lot of people that I was reading online saying TJ Watt's not a top 10 all-time defensive player for the Pittsburgh Steelers because he hasn't won a championship yet. And to me, that's just a fallacy in thought, because he's one of the greatest players at his position in NFL history, let alone Steelers history. So he should very much be in the category of top 10 players on defense in Pittsburgh Steelers history, regardless of whether he's got a ring on the finger or not.
Well, there's another side to this coin that I didn't even bring up. And feel free to use all this in your article, Jeremy. Just make sure you give me a little bit of credit. That's all I ask.
It's already written, Jeff, so it's already written, just waiting to be posted.
So anyways, what I was saying is, yes, we can say Darmonte Dawson, Marquise Pouncey, man, phenomenal players. I do believe that Marquise Pouncey will be in the Hall of Fame at some point. Mm-hmm. But we also don't elevate Justin Hartwig above them because he did win a Super Bowl and was a part of the Super Bowl 43 team. No, we don't do that because it's Justin Hartwig. He was not a legendary player. He was just on a legendary team.
Yeah.
And so you have both sides of it. And that's why as a fan, I can see all of it. I really hate as a fan anymore. And it's probably because I talk about the team a lot and I write about the team a lot. I don't like to pigeonhole myself into a certain stance because then you're closed-minded. You're not willing to think about things. You're not willing to hear other sides of it. And so in this case, I totally hear what you're saying. And you can have the debate about where TJ Watt ranks in Steelers. I mean, you're talking top 10 defensive player in Steelers history. If you're just talking about any position, yeah. I don't know. Does he crack that list?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, really? Let me know. Hold on now.
Okay.
You're talking about some legendary football players. Mean Joe, let's just go to the 70s. Mean Joe Green, yep. Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Donnie Shell. I mean, those four right there are all Hall of Fame players, and I haven't even gotten to the others of the Steel Curtain front or anything like that. And then you get into like the Troy Polamalu's. It would be close. It's a very difficult discussion because that is a very rich history. Yeah. But still, his legacy is not done. I think that's the most important thing. And I do think they're going to get a contract done. They're not. Yeah,
that's true. Like his legacy is not done. I guess where like some people were like, I'm not putting him over James Harrison because James Harrison won a championship. And I'm like, well, look at the numbers, look at the impact on the field. James Harrison didn't do it as long. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl. Yeah, he's a Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't do it as long. He's not been nearly as successful. You can chalk some of this up, obviously, to difference in styles from how offenses play. There's more passing opportunities, which means there's more quarterback sacking opportunities. But TJ Watt is pretty decidedly the better individual player than James Harrison was. James Harrison has just some legendary moments in a good career, but when it comes down to who's going to get in the Hall of Fame faster, or maybe even at all, I think TJ Watt has a better chance as an individual player to get in the Hall of Fame than James Harrison will, and I think that that's deserved based on the production that he's had comparatively.
I think they both deserve to be in, but you're right. TJ Watt will get in faster by proxy to when his career ended to when he gets in, but still, that's neither here nor there. All right, this has been a great discussion, actually. This has been good stuff. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find what you have coming up, and then also your podcast stuff that's coming up.
Yeah, we're trying to wrap up the position grouping, highs and lows, ceiling and floors for as training camp rolls around here. This article about player legacy and team legacy and the dichotomy there, that's coming out soon. And then on the podcast side, we're rolling through some pre-training camp thoughts and final predictions and things like that here on the Steelers Fix and the Draft Dynasty podcast. I mean, couple weeks here, Jeff. Fantasy drafts are about to hit in full steam as preseason games are wrapping up and things like that. So it's all gonna come to a head here very shortly. So lots to come on those podcasts. And if you want to ask questions on the Q&A this weekend, I will be back. I appreciate Dave for filling in for me last week, but I'll be back this weekend on Sunday to talk Steelers ahead of training camp. And next time we meet, Jeff, we'll be talking training camp too.
That's exciting, man. Enjoy your last weekend without Steelers football, and we'll talk next week. Take it easy.
Have a good one.